welcome to the Wednesday Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by a man who would never flinch when defending a corner kick. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, at least not to international media. No, I would not. I would do my best to remain stoic if I wasn't going to defend a corner.
So we are, of course, referring to Mesut Ozil's famous flinch as he was defending a corner kick for Arsenal in the, 86th minute, I believe, against Everton. Ashley Williams bangs it home, 2-1 Everton. Everybody points the finger at Mesut Ozil. Guess what we're here to do, Taylor?
Do the opposite?
To contradict.
Point the finger at everybody else.
Point the finger at everybody else, including especially the Mirror newspaper in England, who had the 7 stages of Mesut Ozil's defending.
And I want to say, when you explained that to me, you even gave them the benefit of the doubt, and it made it sound like it was they've diagrammed what went wrong in 7 steps, and it's the worst type of article. I really can't stand it. It's the type of article that is written fake from Mesut Ozil's perspective of wait, I'm supposed to do what now? And it's just so ludicrous because when you purport to explain what's happened in the 7 steps and then it's this attempt at humor, I'm not even going to say humorous article, it's incredibly frustrating, especially because it's fundamentally wrong.
Exactly. Okay, so I think maybe we should back up for people who haven't seen this at all. What happens is Ashley Williams scores a header for Everton at home. They win 2-1. And when you watch the footage, it's Ashley Williams essentially jumps at the ball, heads it. Ozil's slightly behind him, farther away from goal. And instead of jumping, making a last-ditch effort to jump with Ashley Williams, he just kind of flinch and just make sure that he's out of the way, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody then blames Mesut Ozil.
Right.
But here's the thing. Mesut Ozil is not man-marking Ashley Williams.
No.
Because Arsenal use zonal marking. I wanted to put claps in between each one like people do on Twitter.
I see.
Arsenal use zonal marking. I nearly forgot the last one.
Yeah, first of all, I think that actually kind of syncs up with the Exciters' Tell Him, if you've ever heard that song. I feel like you could probably sync your clapping to that pretty well.
I have no knowledge of it, so there can be no copyright claim.
All right, fair enough. Secondly,
it was meant to be more aggressive on Twitter. It's normally angrier.
It was a very rhythmic clapping instead of aggressive clapping, I'll say that much. But also, to go back to the article, though, I think the frustrating thing is it's clear that article was written even with the segments of photos showing what Ozil was doing in it, it still wasn't watched that carefully because it's based on this idea that Mesut Ozil is man marking and clearly knows what he's supposed to be doing, and in reality that is not at all what he's doing. He's clearly defending the penalty spot.
So if you have not seen or thought about zonal marking before, the way it works is it's the opposite of man marking in many ways. You are not responsible for an individual man. You are responsible for an area of the penalty area, right? And then as the ball comes in, it's your job, if the ball comes near your area, to jump and clear it, right? And because Williams has gone beyond Mesut Ozil into another zone, he's essentially in the zone that Giroud and Koscielny should be defending. It's no longer Ozil's responsibility.
Right. And we saw that earlier in the game when Arsenal were defending a different corner at the opposite end in the first half, that Ozil, squares
spot,
up,
right?
Squares up like he's going to defend, and as soon as the Everton player runs by him, he stops because his job is clearly protect this area, clear the trash, counter if you need to, but it's not drop back and defend any sort of specific area inside the 6-yard box. That's somebody else's job. And I think you made this point off air that if he did do that, if he did track somebody, even if he wins it, he's doing that against the instructions that he's been given.
So if he jumps backwards into the fray to try and beat Ashley Williams, all he's going to do is get in the way because there are drawbacks and there are positives and negatives to every marking system on a corner, right? The theoretical positive of zonal marking is that you are on the front foot when you are clearing the ball, right? You're not jumping backwards with someone and hoping to win it. You are jumping forwards with momentum like a beast, right? So if Ozil goes backwards, all he's going to do is get in the way of someone coming forwards. He'd be going into oncoming Arsenal traffic.
Right, and Arsenal don't need him to do that because Everton players are more than capable of doing it. What was the young man's name?
I'll put it on the screen.
There you have.
Calvert-Lewin, making his debut for Everton. He jumps, he's in the 6-yard box. Right. He jumps, I think, going for the ball, misses it. But what he does by jumping is he gets in the way of Koscielny and Giroud, two guys who are they're at the edge of the 6-yard box. Their job is to attack the ball when it comes into that zone. He blocks them both off accidentally. That's why Ashley Williams is free.
So in a zone, I have a question though. So in the zone, what if the ball goes over your head? Then are you supposed to just stand in your zone, or are you supposed to backpedal and try to get it? Because I do think Koscielny tries to backpedal, and that's why there is that contact in there, and why there is kind of that scrum between Koscielny and Giroud.
Well, I think it's the ball lands roughly in both of their zones, so it's kind of okay that they both go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. This is the confusing part of the zonal marking.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's perfect. That's why. I mean, that's why they concede, right? If one guy is blocked off, then suddenly someone else is free to head the ball.
Right.
But the point I want to make just defending Ozil is that it would not be helpful for him to jump in and cause even more trouble and block off Koscielny and Giroud even more.
And it's funny how that then, like, perspective informs your reaction to this video, because if you think, oh, Ozil's man marking, he was lazy and flinched out of the way, then you see him when Williams scores looking very frustrated with, like, hands in the air, and it becomes just like, how can you be frustrated? Like, this is your fault. But if you realize it's that he has done his job, let his play run through because he's supposed to mark this space.
He's resisted the temptation to not jump in and cause trouble.
And there's an idea that, like, I'm not doing that because I have faith that my teammates behind me will pick him up, and when you turn around and they haven't and that player has scored, there is that frustration of, like, guys, come on, like, what are we doing here?
And I'd say normally you would be right in having faith that Koscielny clears the ball, because that's kind of what mostly happens.
Yeah, just not in this situation.
So we saw the other goals from this game. Seamus Coleman Alexis Sanchez scores a great free kick off of Ashley Williams.
Does he?
Alexis Sanchez scores a free kick.
There we are.
Early on. The equaliser is a header from Seamus Coleman, where something kind of similar happens, right? It's McCarthy, the Everton player, runs into Koscielny and blocks him off and gives Coleman a free header at goal.
Yeah, I think to be
from
fair,
open play, this is.
Yeah, to be fair, I think McCarthy is trying to make a play on the ball and then basically is running in to meet it and then just misjudges it a little bit because you don't see a huge protest from any of the Arsenal players. You don't see Koscielny looking angry as though someone has just come in and like undercut him or like impeded his ability to get to that ball. But yeah, you're right that it's essentially still Arsenal players not quite certain where they are in relation to the ball, where they are in relation to their defensive targets. And in the end, it's a goal for Everton.
Well, the part I want to underline is that if everyone's pointing at Ozil, but what I think with any goal scored from a set piece, what you should really be doing is not looking for culprits, but looking to give credit to the people who did something well.
Right.
So Calvert-Lewin on his debut jumped aggressively and out-competed Laurent Koscielny and Olivier Giroud in the air 5 minutes into his Premier League debut. Ashley Williams tracked the ball perfectly, met it perfectly.
I mean, that's worth noting there is that, I mean, he hits it about 8 yards from goal and he does the good job of tracking the ball well, getting on the end of it, but heading it down and then hitting it with pace so that it's really going to be difficult for any goalkeeper to handle, to any goalkeeper to get down low and block. Yeah. And even if they do, it's probably going to be spilled back into the run of play. So it's really well done from Ashley Williams, not only just to meet it, but to put it in the back of the net. So
if there are any Arsenal fans listening, please consider Ozil exonerated at least by Taylor and I.
There we are.
From Total Soccer Show. If any Everton fans are listening, well done getting Ashley Williams.
Yeah.
Well done getting Ashley Williams.
And meanwhile, Bob Bradley just hangs his head in sadness.
Try and get him back in January, maybe?
Seems unlikely.
All right, Tyler, second thing on today's show is a really interesting question we got from Randy Niprash. It's about courtesy.
Yes.
And I've got to be honest, before I read this question, I was a little worried that Randy was about to accuse us of lacking courtesy.
Oh, see, I would have taken it the different way with courtesy question being like, I'm asking you a question because you guys don't get enough emails. So, like, this is a courtesy question. Like, I'll just throw it out so you guys have something to talk about.
Well, it could be like a customer survey, right?
Yeah, could be that too. Who knows? But in actuality, it is a question about fair play.
Yes. So, I think we have to read the whole email because it's good and detailed. Okay.
Yeah, Randy did a very good job of explaining the entire sequence of events.
Okay, so Randy says, I have some questions about a set of actions at a recent game between Chelsea and Man City. And here's
a game not really well known for fair play, but yeah.
Here's the incident that Randy breaks down. Number one, Diego Costa was dispossessed of the ball about 30-35 yards from the Man City goal. Man City quickly moved the ball downfield toward the Chelsea goal. With a bit of a delay, Costa went down and stayed down shortly after the action.
Right. Okay.
I'll turn it over to you for number two, Taylor.
All right, I get the shorter one.
Oh, sorry.
Because the ref was following the ball down the field, he did not see Costa stay down and did not stop play.
So, then number three, the players did register Costa staying down. After a couple of passes, the ball reaches Kevin De Bruyne, Man City player, close to the sideline, about 30 yards from the Chelsea goal. So Man City are on the attack. De Bruyne was moving forward, but Man City did not have a dramatic chance of a goal developing.
So number four, De Bruyne deliberately kicked the ball out of bounds to stop play and give the ref a chance to register that Costa was down. Play was stopped and Costa got the attention he seemed to need from the Chelsea staff.
So De Bruyne has done Costa a favour, kicked the ball out of play, alerted the ref, let Costa get treatment, right? Okay, then number five, because De Bruyne had sent the ball out of bounds, the throw-in went to Chelsea. Okay, checks out. David Luiz, also the ball was thrown to David Luiz on the Chelsea backline. Almost all the other players were in the middle of the field. Luiz, under no pressure at all, immediately hoofed it long to the Man City backline. So we know this isn't normal Luiz behaviour, because normally he dribbles straight at that midfield, right? Thus, Man City got the ball back in a relatively neutral position, just trying to start to build something from their backline.
Mm-hmm. So, Randy's questions. This seemed like a remarkable set of courteous gestures from De Bruyne and Luiz, especially in the hyper-competitive Premier League. It seemed even more remarkable that the announcers did not see fit to comment on the actions at all, either to explain them to the audience or speak to the courtesy involved. Even more amazingly, these gestures of courtesy originated with an injury to Diego Costa, one of the most annoying and discourteous players in all of soccer. So would you all please talk about this a bit? Is it standard practice? Does it happen this way all the time or only some of the time? Why did the announcers ignore it so completely?
To the last part, it could be that they just took it for granted,
Yep.
or it could be that they were just talking about something else. Because doesn't that happen more times than not? The announcers, football announcers, are off on something, some trivia that has nothing to do with what's happening on the field.
Yeah, but more so, I would say, yes, that's a distinct possibility. But my guess would be that, I mean...
No shade thrown. I don't know who the commentators were, so I don't...
But this is a regular occurrence,
Yes.
I would say. And that's why there isn't much commentary
It's
about it.
not out of the ordinary.
No, it's not. And so, Randy, if you've been watching soccer for years and years and years, I apologize if this is like overly simplistic, if there's an overly simplistic way of explaining it. But basically, what you probably don't hear because of the crowd noise, because of the commentators, is that, speaking from experience, when Daryl and I are playing, if this happens in a game, the players let you know. So I'm sure either Chelsea or City or both were letting Kevin De Bruyne know, hey, players down, kick it out of bounds. You probably don't even register who it is. It's just there's a guy down. We don't know how serious it is. Sportsmanship dictates play it out of bounds.
But sportsmanship dictates. The laws of the game do not dictate, right? There is no, unless the referee blows the whistle, and he'll blow it for like a head injury or something that really like it needs immediate danger, right? But for just some sort of knee injury or whatever Costa went down with, there is nothing in the laws of the game that says the ball must be put out of play so play can stop.
Right.
If it's a safety thing, the referee will stop it. De Bruyne was just doing, as Randy's subject line suggests, the courteous sportsmanship thing.
Yes. Now, what Randy doesn't mention, and I'm curious about, is how courteous Kevin De Bruyne was when he kicked it out of bounds, because that will give you an insight into the frustration level, because obviously players will do this if they're trying to waste time, if they know there's 3 minutes left, if they know there's 20 minutes left and they're trying to preserve a lead. Players will go down and take their time, and you will see people very begrudgingly kick it out of bounds, but they will kick it out of bounds like with force, or like then turn around and wave their hands in the air. So that's
but they'll still do it even against their will. Like the social pressure to do it is so strong that they'll still do it.
Most of the time. I think the times that you won't see that are when it's been either like a consistent, as I said, when it's like seems to be, even if it's not, if it seems to be a deliberate attempt to waste time or stop the game because you are trying to preserve a lead or kill some clock, then you will see teams continue to possess because, as you said, there is no legal obligation to kick the ball out of bounds. So say you are on a fast counterattack and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my knee hurts, I'm going to lay down now. You are definitely not going to be like, sure, I'll stop and kick it out of bounds. And people can get mad all they want and boo all they want, but you definitely don't have to do that because it does get used as a sort of gamesmanship approach.
Absolutely. Right. But I've noticed most players do not. I can't remember an instance of someone abusing this, and I kind of love it. It's one of those sort of sacred things in soccer. Like, I won't abuse the sportsmanship rule if everybody else plays by it. And then you're also ultimately protecting yourself, because then you know one day in the future it'll be you that has to take a knee and go down, and then you expect that someone from the other team will kick it out, right? And it's everybody. It's almost like they've almost unionized. It's like a thing we're all going to look after each other. We're going to make sure that the ball goes out of play when someone is hurt.
Right. And say, well, this might be a bad example, but say like Diego Costa went down and Chelsea had gotten the ball back immediately. If they played it back out of bounds, even if it's their own player, generally speaking, the rule is City would give it back to Chelsea. So it would just be the opposite. City would throw it back to Claudio Bravo, and he would kick it long back, and then Chelsea would get the ball in the same position as City did.
So the convention is that you give the ball back to the opposition in a spot that isn't threatening you, but you also give them a second to reset, right? You're not going to give it to Claudio Bravo and then go slide tackle him straight away.
No,
right? You'll give him
not.
a second to...
And usually you can tell because you'll see one or two players, and maybe this is just the amateur level, and the professional level they don't do this, but you'll see a couple players like hands over the head clap or do like a little side clap to say like thank you for doing that.
You do that when we play, right? And I do that. Like it's just kind of, I don't even think about it. It's habit that when someone completes their fair play, we all applaud it. And that, to me, that is part of the social pressure.
Yeah, exactly. The social contract. It's like
the social contract.
You reward good behavior. Yes.
Yeah, so I say social pressure as if it's a bad thing. I don't mean that. I mean, it's a good thing that we've all decided as soccer players I'm not including us with Kevin
Yeah.
De Bruyne.
Yeah.
We've all decided this is what we're going to do at all levels of soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one where it gets really fascinating is when you have, say, Chelsea, or like say it was a City player that went down and City are counterattacking and they don't play the ball out of bounds, and then as soon as they lose the ball, then they get angry that Chelsea didn't play it out of bounds.
Yes.
You'll see that too, and then at that point it's a little less like, I feel like you guys were maybe trying to take advantage of this, and now you're definitely trying to take advantage of this.
So, speaking of, when people operate outside of the convention, even though it's not a law, it's still so much part of soccer that it weirdly gets enforced, right? This is strange, right? So we both looked into an FA Cup match from, I think it's late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not quite sure exactly when it is. It's Arsenal versus Sheffield United in the FA Cup. What happens is there's a Sheffield United player. It's 1-1, about 10 minutes to go. Sheffield United player is up the field injured. Sheffield United goalkeeper kicks it out, right? Yeah. Carnu, I believe. No, sorry, Arsenal take the Ray Parlour takes the throw. He's throwing it back to the Sheffield keeper, right, so they can restart. Carnu, it's his debut for Arsenal. He's just all excited, sees the ball loose, gets on it, dribbles down the line, crosses to Mark Overmars, who scores. So it's 2-1 Arsenal. Steve Bruce, Sheffield United manager, loses his mind, calls his players off the field. Everyone's angry. They argue and argue and argue. I think they come back, play the last 10 minutes, finishes 2-1 to Arsenal, Sheffield United out of the FA Cup. But then Arsene Wenger and David Dean intervene.
Right.
They offer to void the game and have a total replay because they understand that this is not within the bounds of what we normally do.
Right. Which is noble. But there's still a part of me that doesn't understand why. The other thing that will happen sometimes is, say, this happened in, I think, the Norwegian League this year, is that a player, they did the restart, like the player threw it back to his defender, the defender kicked it long back to the other team's goalkeeper to restart. But because of the vicious wind that was happening, the ball bounced, went over the goalkeeper, and went into the net. So then the other team got all mad, and he was like, I didn't mean to, like, it's the wind, whatever. And then on the restart, they basically let the team dribble down the field and score.
Yeah.
So you could also do that. So it's weird to me that Arsenal didn't do it, and I do wonder if there was an element of, like, there are 10 minutes left. If we do that, it's going to be like tied, and I guess maybe that means a replay later on, but maybe it means extra time. I don't know what the format was at that point. So maybe he's sort of like, I don't want to get into like a vicious extra time scenario where we're more tired. Let's just go ahead and finish this game and then offer a replay and see if they take it.
So I don't know the reasons. I don't know why Arsenal didn't just let Sheffield United score, then it's level, then all's good. It may just be because tempos ran so high, right, after that goal that everyone is suddenly hyper competitive and they're just like, well, we're winning now, we're going to beat them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be that.
And the other strange element to this is, as you said, there's no law like mandating that the ball be played out of bounds, and because of that, there's also no law dictating that like play must be stopped, and there wasn't any treatment. Like I don't think there were physios on the field at the time.
I can't remember.
So that's why the referee then can't call it back himself, right? Because at that point it's a legal goal, technically speaking, if not a moral one.
Oh, if Arsenal wanted that win, they could have just said,
oh yeah,
we won.
Yeah, but there might be a question as to like, well, why
next year?
But there might be a question as to why doesn't the referee just stop play and say like, no, that's not allowed. You got to
because
bring
you can't,
it back.
right? There's nothing in the laws of the game that lets him do it. We all have to police ourselves.
There it is.
And mostly we do, just as Kevin De Bruyne did in this situation, and then David Luiz did right back.
There we are.
Right? Handshakes all round.
Handshakes all round.
Even for Diego Costa.
Up until the end of that game, and then maybe less handshakes and more so hands to the face.
Is this that game?
Yeah, that's why. That was my joke earlier about this is a game not known for fair play. Yep.
Oh, so as a good example then, we watched this game, right? Twice maybe, because we did a show about it. We didn't even comment on this.
Nope.
I don't remember it happening, because we must have just accepted that this is the way this is.
My guess would be is that we saw it as an opportunity to like talk about other stuff because there was a break in play while they gave treatment.
Yeah,
it's just kind of an accepted thing. Yeah.
Well, the commentators did the same.
There we are.
So thank you to Andy for emailing contact@totalsoccershow.com. That is where you send your questions. If you are a $10 a month or higher subscriber, we guarantee to answer one of your questions on the Total Soccer Show. Or if you ask a really good question like Randy did, we also guarantee to answer that question.
We do.
Taylor, a bit more to talk about on today's show, but first, today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek are making buying tickets for online sports and concerts much less confusing than it has been in the past.
SeatGeek is the web's largest event. SeatGeek is the web's largest event ticket search engine. They do all the price comparison for you by searching multiple ticket sites.
So, Taylor, have you looked around to see what's coming up, what you might like to go to?
I mean, yes, in the sense that I like to look at like theoretical venues, like shows that I would like to see and places I would like to go.
So, honestly, doing these SeatGeek ads, I've kind of enjoyed, like, just imagining where could I go? Where could I go if I had the free time?
And I've always been interested in seeing the Dropkick Murphys on St. Patrick's Day because they always do a St. Patrick's Day show in Boston, which they are doing this year. So they do have tickets available if you're inclined to go see an Irish South Boston punk band play in Boston.
So that would be if tickets to the Pogues are not available.
I think the Pogues are not presently touring. I could be wrong.
And if tickets to the Pogues were not available and they were touring, you could still probably find someone reselling their tickets on SeatGeek.
This is definitely true.
Dropkick Murphys are the Departed band?
Yes, and that song is Shipping Up to Boston.
Shipping up to Boston.
And if you want to see them in Boston, you can see them at the House of Blues in Boston. There we are. Bring it all full circle.
So I did a quick search for myself. I couldn't find anything quite as good, or at least that I'm as excited about as you are, the Dropkick Murphys. Louis C.K. is playing at...
pretty much the same thing.
Madison Square Garden. Oh, tonight. So I'd have to get my tickets real fast. But there are tickets as cheap as $50 to see Louis C.K. at Madison Square Garden tonight. We would not make it in time if we left
you'd have
now.
to hustle. If SeatGeek also books helicopters and flights, maybe then you could do it. Otherwise, I think you're out of luck.
Billy Joel, I know, takes a helicopter from his place on Long Island to Madison Square Garden to perform a concert.
If you wanted to do the same thing and save a little bit of money, you could, because SeatGeek will save you $20. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click Add a promo code. Enter the promo code TSS. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase.
Helicopter not included.
Indeed.
But download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code TSS today, and you'll be able to get that $20 rebate.
Yes, sir. So we've got some scouting to get to, but first we've got a little bit of local news.
Local news. So it's genuinely big news in the city of Richmond about the USL team, Richmond Kickers, have been playing at City Stadium for 20-something years now. It's a city-owned property, and there's always been this thing of they rent it every year and they play in it, and they don't want to invest money into it because the city could take it away, right? They could give it to another sports team. They could demolish it and build a Walmart. Like, anything could happen. So why would you invest in a stadium?
A viable option, given that it's at like the intersection of two highways.
Yeah, but we don't want it because it's near a good shopping center.
We definitely don't want that.
Small business center.
Exactly. Right? And a little bit of background is that it's formerly University of Richmond's football stadium. So University of Richmond were, for the longest time, responsible for the upkeep, keeping everything nice and pretty. Once Richmond left, then it fell to the city. The city have less inclination to do so because you're not going to have events there every week or every other week during the fall. So basically it becomes the Kickers' responsibility to handle the upkeep for an entire stadium.
But here's the deal that's been struck. The Kickers...
And for an entire stadium that is not legally theirs, put it that way.
The deal that's been struck is the Kickers have a 40-year lease now on the stadium, just passed by City Council. And in exchange, the Kickers have agreed to invest $20 million in upgrades to City Stadium.
Yeah.
No public money involved,
Yep.
Kickers money, but they're going to do it knowing that they get to play there for at least the next 40 years.
Yeah, which is nice because I feel like it's the equivalent of if you're renting an apartment month to month and there's all this stuff wrong with it and you're like, yeah, I would like to fix it all up myself because I am handy, but if I'm going to be forced to move out in a month, I don't really want to spend $1,000.
Imagine if they built like a 20,000 seat all-seater stadium.
And then they're like, thanks, guys. We're selling this to Walmart. It's the Walmart arena now for the Walmart employees to play in. Yeah. So, no, it's very exciting news, and it'll be very exciting to see all of the developments and renovations that occur at
I
City
do know
Stadium.
that Phase 2, maybe halfway down, is improving the broadcast booth. So I guess we'll wait and hope for the best.
Yeah, sounds good.
But it's also worth noting that for all the conversation recently about sort of NASL, will that league fold or will it come back? USL, will it be Division 2? These are kind of the things that matter, is teams like the Richmond Kickers setting up good situations for themselves, negotiating with cities to get the best deal possible, as the Kickers have. This is a long-term investment in the future of soccer, at least in Richmond, Virginia.
Right, and it's very exciting for me personally because, I like the Kickers. They've been around for most of my life. So it's always nice to have a local soccer team and a well-attended, well-supported soccer team in the form of the Red Army. But also because it gives us an opportunity to see many of the people we're about to discuss in the sense that
plus Joe Cole.
Yeah, a lot of MLS teams send their young academy players to their USL affiliates. So we got an opportunity to see like 10 or 11 players in the scouting network last season.
We saw Andrew Carlton before he was lighting it up for the US Under-17s. We saw Jeremy Ubabise. We saw Tyler Adams. I was very impressed with Tyler
Turner,
Adams.
Derek Etienne Jr., Anatole Abang, not Anatole Lee, mind you.
Just side note, US Under-17s, they've drawn the groups for the U17 World Cup qualifiers, which is a CONCACAF group the US is in with Mexico.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Not
those
great.
games happen in April 2017. We'll have an eye on those when they happen.
It's going to be a rowdy time. Until then, we've got some scouting reports to get to.
Yes, we do. So, the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, where we have listeners keep an eye on some of the promising young players around the world. Who's up first, Taylor?
Up first is Ira Jersey scouting Ashley Sanchez. Ira says Ashley was unsurprisingly named the Young Female Player of the Year by U.S. Soccer. That gave me pause for a moment because I was like, is that unsurprising? Until the next sentence, which was, Mallory Pugh was not eligible as she won last year. So basically, I feel like it would have been maybe a neck-and-neck race had they both been eligible. Because Pugh was not eligible, it seems logical that it goes to Ashley Sanchez.
Thank you to Ira and to Isaac. Up next, Gillian Avalon is scouting not one but two Birmingham City players in Ronan Hale and Jack Storer. Gillian says the general consensus is that Ronan Hale still isn't fit after his second injury of the season, and that Jack Storer is probably not quite good enough for the Birmingham senior team, but too good for the Birmingham under-23s. That's a tough spot. That's between a rock and a hard place.
Well, keep going.
That said, the Baby Blues lost 5-0 to Hull City's U23s this past weekend, and Jack was not on the pitch.
Was on the pitch, which means that...
Oh, so he's partly to blame.
Yeah, so he's partly to blame. So maybe he could up his game a little bit more and score just 5 goals, and then they're equal. It's
so that was just a misreading on my part, but I guess it would be worse if he was dropped for the U23s, right?
Yeah. Either way, it's not great. Up next, John Adams scouting Shayon Harrison. There we go. You've got some talking to do here, Mr. Grove, because John says, it's been a while since I've had reason to email on behalf of young Shayon Harrison. I almost did last week when you guys did an update about fellow Spurs Academy player Shiloh Tracy, where Daryl referenced him fluffing his lines in Tottenham's EFL Cup loss to Liverpool. Apologies to Mr. Tracy for mistaken identities, I think, because that was the match that Shayon Harrison subbed on and had a late chance at a mostly open net, but couldn't settle the ball after a heavy touch on the break and indeed fluffed said lines. Okay,
so it seems I fluffed my lines as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe the scouting network's getting so big. We have two young players playing for Spurs, both begin with sh. So when he came on and missed, I was like, oh, scouting network.
I got you.
So when we got a Shiloh Tracy report, I think that's when I said, oh, he also missed.
Gotcha.
Apologies to Shiloh Tracy.
I'm sure he'll accept it. And on a much more positive note for Shayon, Tottenham beat Derby County 2-0 in the Premier League 2 match, with Harrison scoring the second goal in the 24th minute. That gives Shayon Harrison 7 goals in Premier League 2 this season, with 4 from the spot and a more respectable 3 from open play.
All right. Go Shayon.
There we are.
Also, go Shiloh.
Yeah.
Final scouting report comes from Justin Miller. Justin is scouting, I'm going to say, Rijkaardly Bazur?
Sure. I think I'm going to go Richedley, and we'll see whichever it is, yeah.
I'm sure someone will let us know.
Yeah.
Richedley just finalised a deal to move from Ajax to Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. This is great because he had lost his spot on Ajax and was getting no playing time. There's a ton of hype around him, so hopefully he can get going again with Wolfsburg, who are in need of some midfield support. I'm also excited that it'll be much easier to see him. Oh, because Bundesliga's on Fox. Eredivisie is not.
I think maybe ESPN3 occasionally.
We haven't checked in, have we?
We haven't checked into the extent that...
week on the ESPN3 kind of deal?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's also not ESPN3 anymore. I usually go through this when I'm trying to find It's like ESPN3, ESPN 360, watch ESPN. There it is.
That's it. Yes, watch ESPN.
It's tough to track these changes.
Ocho.
Hooray for branding. Hooray for branding.
Thank you, Justin. This is weird, though. It seems like young Mr. Bazur is failing upwards here, because I know Ajax are a big team, but it's generally accepted that the Bundesliga is a higher profile league than the Eredivisie, right? Like Michael Bradley went Heerenveen to Mönchengladbach in that way, right?
Unless maybe he doesn't fit with the style of play that Ajax are trying to utilize, and maybe Wolfsburg have seen him.
He came through the Ajax academy, didn't he?
Yeah, who knows?
If he doesn't fit, he's done it wrong.
That could be. Yeah, maybe we need more information from Justin Miller.
Oh yeah, so yeah, best of luck to Rijkaardly Bazur. I'm going to find out how to pronounce that for next time out.
You're not going with Rijkaardly anymore?
No, I'm just not sure.
He's lost his confidence in pronunciation, folks.
It's shaking me. I haven't lost my confidence in the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, though, because I am loving the reports coming in. If you would like to join the TSS Scouting Network, if you would like to support the show, so Taylor and I can do this every day and not sort of work ourselves to death in the meantime, which is almost what's happening now.
Yeah,
right? A lot of TSS, a lot of other work. You can go to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe, support the show, and we'll send you a player to scout. If you've done so and we haven't sent you a player to scout, let us know. Email contact@totalsoccershow.com, put itchy feet in the subject line. We explained why yesterday. And we'll get you your player within a week from today. I want to almost guarantee, because you're going out of town for a bit. I'll have some time maybe to catch up on assigning young players.
Alrighty. Sounds good to me.
All right, Taylor. So, time to go here today. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow, where we hope to have a special guest on TSS.